Hi, this is one of the High Priests of Khonshu, Ray, from Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. We're proud members of the collective, and you're listening to one of the collective members, the Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks Podcast. Hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Comic Capers episode 2, the one we've been threatening for a while now. I am Phil, and sharpening her knife up there in Canada is...
Hey y'all, it's Blue. I'm not sharpening my knife. I didn't hate it.
And we're talking Man of Steel, Man of Steel and Man of Steel, so we had to get our Superman expert from his Fortress of Solitude, where he's at right now.
Yeah, you can tell. Okay. So next time we do this, I'm going to have my computers angled so you can see all my stuff. Because, right now the angle is not good. You can kind of see some stuff.
You know, have it aimed at the Superman corner there.
Yeah,
So I see Superman stuff in one corner. Looks like there's Batman stuff over right next to it.
Yeah, I'll take you on a tour next week when we do Man of Steel 2. I'll have it set up different. Broadcasting from the iPad or something.
All right. Well, all right. Let the slaughter begin.
How do you want to? I don't even think it's really fair to be doing it issue by issue because, the way that the Man of Steel series was structured is that we come into it each phase of his life, birth and discovering his powers and things like that. This is just kind of
and it was
here's my villain, y'all.
And the John Byrne one, it was after Crisis, so it was him rewriting Superman's origin, making him
for a modern time,
and the actual
getting rid of Supergirl and all that stuff, and
the only survivor of Krypton, yeah.
See, the birthing matrix I actually love, and probably because they took it from the movie. And he also used some of the Max Fleischer cartoons as inspiration. And I love George Reeves. So it's going to be hard to top Byrne just period when it comes to Man of Steel. No matter who you are.
The only, the one thing I don't like is I don't like the birthing matrix. And
why not? Drill's work jar? Are you serious?
And the reason why is I think it makes the story so much more powerful when he's born and his parents hold him and then have to make that decision to put him in there and let him go and take the chance.
But that means he was born on American soil, so he's American.
Right. It does. But I like it that he comes as a baby better than he's born here. And I understand why he did it, where he comes from, and I don't hate it. I mean, I like the idea from Jor-El and Lara's point of view of having their child, talking about we're going to do this with our child, and then having that moment of holding it and realizing you have to let go. It makes the story stronger. And as a parent, and thinking about could I do that with my child? Because they didn't
also go to the tone of that, they were the sterile, cold culture that, that whole thing too. So,
and you know what? And I like that. I like the idea of when I was rereading it today, where Lara talks about in the first part about she has this. I'm trying to remember how she describes it. She doesn't say feeling, but basically towards Jor-El, and basically that cold world that Krypton becomes. I like that, and I think that's why I kind of like the idea in Man of Steel, the movie, about him being a natural birth.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think it's kind of a molding of the two of the society that had gotten to using the chambers, the matrices.
I did find that interesting about the whole cold and sterile thing, because it's not. I mean, I guess they weren't I don't want to say evil, but it's they were more cold and more turned off.
They were basically reaching the singularity. They were damn near cyborgs at that point. When you think about it,
I think of them if we want to get Star Trek, I think of them like Vulcans.
Kind of, but it's even like when Jor-El shows Lara where he's sending Kal-El to Earth, and the sun will give him these great powers. She's like, oh, so he can rule them and teach them proper Kryptonian ways. And he's like, yes,
that's not what you're supposed to say. That's what Jor-El's supposed to say.
I mean, she talks about
if you're a Smallville fan.
She talks about him I forgot that he even says I picked a place, Earth, subset Kansas. I'm like, wow, he got really specific. Yeah, and she talks about the bare skin to the sun, the guy working the untreated soil, and she makes the comment how Kryptonians had control over the weather and everything.
Our ancestors were heathens. They actually touched each other.
Yeah, and I think that's a cool story. I mean, I know later, Byrne did write the Krypton story. I just caught that. Because you were doing it, and I didn't think of it as in him.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of it, but and they gave the Krypton story out free. Some comic shops do have it when Krypton the show.
Oh yeah, I got that. Yeah,
even though they don't have any correlation, they gave out the book for free. That explores a little bit more of Krypton's past with that kind of the heathen side, which I think is interesting. But visually, pulling out for the first time, people look at this. I have the single copy, and Phil has the trade.
It's a reversal of what usually happens. Yes,
unless it's a brand new book, Phil always has the individual issues, and I have to pull out the trade.
Y'all are touching it with your bare hands, you damn heathens!
Oh, sorry.
Use my digital copy. Come on.
Hey, look. Oh, I love it. I love it. We're a nice mix, single issue, trade paperback, digital.
You know what Stan Lee said about comic books?
Physical. Have it in all forms. Yeah, you got to touch it.
I know. I've touched it, and now it's bagged and boarded, never to be touched again because I have it digitally.
I won't.
My kids will thank me.
What kids?
I won't repeat what Lee said.
The grandkids that I'm adopting, though.
This is a family podcast. I won't repeat it.
Those Chinese kids.
But I also did there's a quick dialogue in here about what's caused Krypton to cause it to explode. About where is it? Gases build up and
strip mining to do that. They're drinking water. Probably they could have set it on fire. Just saying.
So
damn fracking.
I told Phil today, I watched an interview that Byrne did with Sci-Fi Wire. Waiting, Phil.
Was it recent?
Yeah, it was recent. It's a 20-minute interview. He talked about Man of Steel, and I watched that today to just kind of soak in more of what his mindset was when he wrote it and why he did the choices that he made. And I guess I can respect the Birthing Matrix, but out of his run, I think the Birthing Matrix is the one I have the biggest nah. The other is kind of the way he does Clark Kent. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I didn't
like the suit, actually.
You didn't
that it wasn't the blankets, it was his aura from the skin contact, and that's why the cape always got that's the one thing that I was just come on, bro.
I will say this real quick. You said the cape. If there's one thing that I really like that they did with Superman in the New 52, I like the idea that the cape is from father to son. When they're launching him and Jor-El takes off and says, "Wrap him in my father's cloak." I did like that, and I'd like to see that in some form of live action where that's where the cape comes from.
Isn't that where Krypton's kind of going, probably? Eventually?
I don't know. We can talk that later, me and you.
I binged it 7 episodes back, and I'm just what is even going on here?
There's things that I will say that Krypton the show gave me the best version of a certain character that I like. And I won't say that character.
Krypton is so confusing. I want to know why Oliver Queen's stepfathers wants everyone to kneel before him.
Yeah, I was like, man, he just jumping show. Not even a different universe. He's just
He's everybody.
He traveled. He's the time traveler.
But I would
That's the
say
secret.
the character that he plays is my favorite version of that character. After some thinking and deciding, I've come to that realization. So
Colin Salmon. I mean, if anybody was going to be Black Bond, it would have been him. So good choice.
I feel like in this one issue, there is a lot in this issue.
Well, yeah, you get the whole
that roller coaster.
You get the Krypton origin, and then you get
the Kents and
they flash to him in high school, and then basically they have to tell him where he actually came from, or what.
Does anybody else hate Superboy? And that's probably why I like this so much, is that he just totally retconned Superboy out of existence. I was like, yes, thank you.
Yes,
well, they had to do some fancy writing with the Legion stuff because after this.
Been a fan of. I like the idea of Superboy being the clone,
Connor,
or now the Jonathan Kent.
I
have never been a fan of Superman as a boy. In the time.
Well, you two love Smallville, so that's like your.
I do love Smallville.
Smallville, you can love it, but you can be so frustrated with it.
But I'm just saying, he was never like super. He had his powers, but he wasn't.
He was never even super. He was Superman for the last 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Just like Gotham's gonna be.
Yep. For the last 30 seconds.
Yep.
But I like that they got rid of, they cleaned up, because it's also one of those things I wrestle with is I like him being the last Kryptonian.
But I also like Supergirl.
But the thing is, I don't mind Supergirl, and I don't mind Zod, because I like the idea that Zod. If someone had ever really, I haven't read a story that I like as much. Mm-hmm. The idea that they've hinted at it is, I would like to see a younger Superman when he first meets Zod as older, and he feels like this could be like the father figure that he never had. Mm-hmm. Being the Kryptonian, they hint at it, but other than that, I don't like when they get into a lot more of like Jaxer.
Oh yeah, I mean they were clean
villains, because then I'm like, geez, people, like, did the planet even go away?
Well, this was cleaning up.
Yeah, it's like the Kandor comes in and the Phantom's just like, didn't we just talk about this?
That's what Crisis was, cleaning up all that stuff, because like Supergirl.
But then it came back and just creeped back in.
I know, all those old stuff. I mean, even like Kandor's alright, but I mean, you really don't see like a Streaky or a what was the horse's name?
Yeah, I mean, Kandor's neat as long as you do Brainiac where he's not Kryptonian based. He wasn't created on Krypton like they did in the animated series. Mm-hmm. That kind of bothered me. But back to this. If you were to write this, Phil, if I were to turn this in and you were my editor at DC Comics today, you know what you would do?
What?
You would hand
wipe their butt with it.
What, the original?
Because they don't like the storytelling.
You would be like, Tyler, you can write 6 issues out of this one. Just expand it. This one.
Oh yeah. This original 6-issue miniseries would be. I'm surprised Bendis's is in 12 issues.
I'm about to say each issue, like this story right here that's contained, could be a good 4 type issues or more.
Oh yeah. Krypton would have been 1 issue. Him landing in Kansas would have been 1 issue.
It is fast paced though that way, and I do.
I do like the fast pace. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't drag this.
The high school,
this was also the storytelling of the time too. They weren't like specifically writing for the trade, so I mean they weren't afraid to speed it along.
But I do like that in this version is where Clark doesn't know he's adopted, and they use the cover story of the blizzard and everything.
Yeah,
Martha was pregnant. Because you've seen that in some forms. In some forms, you don't.
Well, there's one of the biggest changes too. I mean, this was like for the first time since Crisis like brought the Kents back. Before we saw them in like the origin, then they like died off like before he became Superman.
And the little known fact that on the George Reeves TV series, the Kents were not Martha and Jonathan.
Oh yeah. Weren't they just Ma and Pa?
Nope, they were Eben and Sarah. Yeah, it's odd. Because,
Wait, what were their names in Lois and Clark? I forget now.
They were Martha and Jonathan.
Yeah, Lois and Clark.
Okay.
By then, that was 90s. They had that down by then.
Yeah, that came out during this run. And that's why you had both of them alive in Lois and Clark, which was refreshing if you think about it. Everybody wants to kill Jonathan, like.
Well, I mean, after Crisis, they brought Jonathan was back until like what was it, like 2009 or something?
2009.
Yeah,
until they decided to reboot it and just kill them both.
So like right, a few years before Flashpoint, they're like, yeah, that's good. Well, you know what it happened? Well, I forget what came. Well, didn't they kill? They killed Jonathan on Smallville, and then I think after.
Yeah, then it bled over. Yeah,
in the comics, they're like, yeah.
Like, we can't have them alive in the comics and dead on TV. They have to somehow coincide, but yet everything else is different. Hence the wedding and not the death right when they had it. Anyways.
Yeah. Like I said, you can Smallville to be frustrated.
But yeah, like the most, I think, like we were talking about the suit and like he wasn't Superboy and stuff. Before the whole space plane thing, I don't think he even thought about putting a costume on.
Right.
He's like, I need a way to hide in plain sight. That's why there was no Superboy.
The Supergirl, the pilot episode was kind of an allusion to that.
Okay, the plane and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that he kind of meets Lois Lane and meets people as Clark Kent. Like he's just wearing a jacket,
yes,
and pants and no disguise, nothing. And he meets them like that, and then he has to run out of there.
And you know what else the space plane thing reminds me of too? From the first Christopher Reeve Superman, when he catches her in the helicopter, and that's how they meet for the first time. Well, she meets Superman for the first time.
I was going to say the Superman return scene also.
Yes.
Yeah.
The one scene that everybody
they probably copied that from this, yeah.
Definitely.
The one scene that everybody loves in that movie that is rumored to not have been storyboarded by Bryan Singer, that it was actually written for one of the previous versions, and it was storyboarded by Brett Ratner.
Oh, what, the plane thing?
Yep. And they just decided to keep it into the... I'm like, wow. So if you take that out, what were you giving us, Bryan Singer? Of Superman just talking? But that's another conversation.
I think it's safe to say, whatever form of media it is, Lois Lane and Gravity do not mix.
That is true. That's her biggest weakness, Gravity.
Well, unless Smallville. Hers is concussions in Smallville.
Everybody's just concussions in Smallville.
Like, everybody's just a big old doofus. That's why they didn't realize everybody's getting hit in the head. They didn't know.
So, yeah, we get the space plane thing, and then, Mom makes the costume, and Paul gives him the glasses, and hey, slick back the hair, slouch a little bit. No one will know it's you.
So, I think it is worth noting that this Superman here is the post-crisis, which is basically the Superman, if something's currently, it was the Superman that was introduced at the beginning of Rebirth after the great events of, why am I blanking on that event? Convergence. Yeah. And then he molded with the New 52 Superman, which is Superman Red, to make the Superman we have now.
Yeah.
So I think it's just worth pointing out, like, we're still connected to this idea and continuity of Superman. Like,
I remember we reviewed the issues, and like me and Lilith were like, oh, thank God he's back.
Yeah, like, when's he coming? When's he coming back permanently?
You know what?
Casual Friday Superman's got to go.
I actually really liked that I didn't know if I was, and I had to go back and buy them all with the Lois and Clark Superman books.
Yeah.
So I think that's worth pointing out, because then we're in the same continuity, and Bendis is using that title, The Man of Steel, for another 6-issue.
Because he's lazy and trying to milk it.
Look at the logo. It wasn't on at least on the single issues. Wasn't that the same logo, or wasn't it something like that?
Well, I know they had different covers, and the cover that I have.
Yeah, that one is different, but wasn't there a version where it had this logo on it?
I want to say yes, but I do want to point out that I like this art.
Oh, the art is great.
Yeah, the art is great.
because I've pointed out I am not happy with the Superman Action Comics 1000 Jim Lee cover. I think it looks lazy.
At Tyler.
Patrick.
I'm just saying, like, I love everything Jim Lee's drawn, but like looking at that, it looks very flat. The cape does not look.
Well, it's Jim Lee.
It's what I'm saying. Just pull up his like Rebirth, pull up his New 52, pull up his Superman Man. You know what I'm saying? Pull up his other Supermans he's done and how great they look, and pull up that cover and it just looks flat.
I wonder too, did someone else do the inking or the coloring? Maybe sometimes like inkers and pencilers that don't like
blend
mix well. Yeah.
So we got this first issue, Man of Steel, and I kind of like looking at the picture of all the issue covers. It looks like if they're going to jump time, kind of the way that the original miniseries did.
Yeah, but I mean, for the most part, this issue took place in the present, except we got like a couple flashes back to Krypton and the new bad guy. Which
I think Bendis is obsessed with fire, and I think he might be an arsonist. Wherever he lives, the local fire chief might need to be aware of that. Like the fire thing was just bothering the heck out of me.
My big. I mean, I had other problems with this issue, but it was. I'm willing to give it a shot, but the whole premise of like it's this bad guy was this alien warlord or whatever was responsible for the destruction of Krypton. I don't like it.
I don't
like it when it's random or the Kryptonians did it to themselves. Just like with Batman, I don't want Joe Chill. I want it to be a random act by a guy. He doesn't know who did it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm going into this. I haven't read a lot of Bendis' stuff because I haven't read a lot of Marvel. As I have, but I haven't read as much.
Well, me and Lilith
hasn't read as much as Phil.
I think me and Lilith have cracked the code. Bendis does all right when he does when he sticks to like street level stuff like Daredevil or Jessica Jones. He seems to do okay, but once he starts getting
that Avengers,
once he starts getting into like Avengers and like the more powerful and more cosmic he starts going, it's kind of
there's nobody to rein him in. He's like literally the chief character editor in charge of Superman. They have to approve everybody else's stuff. Like
he pooped all over Moon Knight.
So we'll just looking at this.
How can you mess up Moon Knight though?
He took the three personalities and made them Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine. Instead of seeing the three multiple personalities Moon Knight always sees, he saw Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine.
And they took him promptly off the book, right?
12 issues. He had 12 issues.
So let's
so sorry.
Let's jump into this issue.
Yes.
It starts, and I like the Superman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like you said, I think we have this Krypton, whatever, and it's the new guy Rogol Zar, and we see a council of people, and there's one of the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Like you said, I don't care about this villain. He looks like they were like, all right, I'm gonna take Doomsday, Darkseid, and Panthro and mix them together.
I know what Bendis is doing here. He's trying to make people question Krypton and be like, oh, were the Kryptonians up to some shady stuff?
Of course they were.
You know what?
You've seen Brainiac, right? You've met that.
Oh
thing,
yeah,
right?
but I think Bendis is trying to make people think they were even more sinister.
I'm okay with that.
Why?
If Kryptonians were bad, and the idea that Jor-El saw his society as a corrupt system, and that's why he didn't care to save it, he just wanted to save his son, I can go with that. Because the only real Kryptonian representation that we have is Superman and Supergirl. So, I can go with the idea if they had become such a bad and corrupt society that, in a sense, they deserve to fall and die.
And here's the other thing. Where's Jor-El at right now?
Yeah.
We got beat over the head with the Mr. Oz stuff. Where is he?
He'll be back, probably. He'll show up sometime. Watch. I just hope
they'll make him look like Terrence Stamp.
I just hope that Rogol Zar is only in this miniseries because I really
I
don't.
hope he dies at the end of this miniseries. Yes, I agree.
You know, so we get Superman in Metropolis stopping Firefly and Killer Moth. And, I mean, the artwork spread is great of him taking both of them.
Yes.
It's a great, like, just way to kick off a Superman book.
Mm-hmm.
I love the look.
The art is, like we said, the art is great.
I love this, him, like, hearing the song.
Oh, yeah.
And talking and flying. And then we get what Lilith was talking about with the fire. You know, and I love this because I feel like that's Superman.
Yes. I think he got Superman's characterization down here, but
I didn't like the family stuff though. At the end,
can someone tell me why this young girl who doesn't look like she's more than 6 or 7 is like cursing?
I'm like, wow, that's the kid.
I'm sorry for the spoiler, Phil, but I was literally like,
That's all right. I was just kind of messing with you, but at first you just sent me that one panel, and I was like, wait a minute, is Superman?
Yeah, and I just circled the.
I was like, Bendis! I thought it was Superman for a second because I couldn't see the little girl under the cape. I was like,
well, can I just point out that I think it's funny that in this page it ends with Superman saying, "Damn it," and he's talking to the girl and he says, "Language, please." Like I know that
you're not Captain America. Knock it off.
I'm like, I know that she's a little girl, but it kind of undermines when you just like closed out your thought on the last page with a swear word and then you tell someone else to watch their language. But I mean, like I like the characterization of Superman. We have a very interesting introduction to a new fire chief.
Oh yeah.
I think she's the shapeshifter and she's the bad guy secretly in disguise.
No, I think
it's just like, or that's a self-insert character or something. That was just too random.
I think Bendis is trying. Oh God, I think Bendis is trying to create romantic tension, even though Superman is married. But where what? I guess we'll find out next week what happened to Lois and Jonathan. Right? But what?
Nobody wants to see that. Like everybody hated him with Wonder Woman. Okay.
Exactly.
And they fixed that by making
with Lois.
They fixed that by making a Superman red. You know, that it really wasn't the real Superman. But yeah, I mean, I think him and Lois are at the point where people like the family dynamic.
Yes.
But they brought that in, and then we get Rogolzar fighting some J.J. Abrams looking beast, and one of the Guardians talks to him. And it says then, and basically said that the council is not with him on the Kryptonian thing.
But I see what you did there, Bendis. The Guardian is actually Appa Ali Apsa. I believe that's one of the ones. I think that's the Guardian who went like nuts in like the late 80s. And like,
you know what? I think you're right. I was trying to remember. Like,
I think that's when Hal Jordan got the band back together. You got Jon Stewart and Guy Gardner, but and they had to like take down this Guardian.
I do want to point out that this issue does take place after the short story that appears in the DC Comics 0 issue.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That had like little stories in it.
Oh yeah, because that what was it? A new reporter at the Planet. Yeah. We didn't even get her in this issue. Yeah, now
we see her.
Next issue.
Oh,
yeah, she's in the panel here with Perry White. So that's how I know that this story takes place after that.
Oh yeah, she is there. But
well, they said it in the short in the back of the book too, continued in Man of Steel or whatever.
So
right? Again, yeah. So the story, I'm thinking the fight with Rogolzar that we were privy to a little bit in the 80th or the 1000 is going to probably appear in issue 2 or 3.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of get that flashback at the end, and everything fades to white, and it's like, where's Lois and John at? Didn't I see something for an upcoming issue, something about the Phantom Zone? So are they stuck in the Phantom Zone, maybe?
You know what? I try not to look too much about what's coming up because
all I saw was a mention of the Phantom Zone. So
we have Lois and John. I like this where John's talking about his Superboy outfit doesn't fit, and you can see where he's grown because I literally just bought Solo some pajamas and the pants are already small because that boy's in a growth spurt. And I try to always buy everything too big anymore. Yeah. And then like you said, yeah, like is it fading to white? Are they being teleported or is something arriving? And
next week, I guess.
I'm glad that it's weekly because I feel like if I just read this as like my monthly book,
yeah,
I would have been like a little disappointed because I feel like this is more setup and for something, but I'm not. I feel like I didn't really get like a story out of this.
And in like what is it? Was it? I think it was in the DC Nation Zero. They didn't make it seem like Lois was fired. But if something happened, why would she be fired? If something happened, or is it just like Clark not telling Perry that she's trapped or whatever, and he's just like, oh, she didn't show up, she's fired.
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't know, like because it made it seem like something big was going on with Lois, and now like
if Bendis drags us out past issue 2 or 3, but we don't know what.
I don't think he's gonna drag it out though. I think he wants to showcase his wares. And say how smart he is and show everybody how smart he is and how good he is. So I don't think we're going to drag it out like that.
But he always has to tip over that apple cart. It's like, let's push Lois and John out of the way for a while. And
I like John and Lois. I mean,
yes.
It's one of those where Superman has to rescue them.
We fought for how long to get them back? Come on.
But, I mean, I saw people saying they're afraid that he's going to try to kill Lois or something.
Like, no. People would riot and he would get fired.
All right, good.
You better.
They're the golden couple. They're literally the comic book couple golden standard. Sorry, MJ and Pete. Okay, or Sue and Richard.
No, I agree.
Flash and Iris.
It's Lois and Clark and Peter and Mary Jane. Okay.
No. You need a little bit lower for those two. Just like right here, underneath.
What? Who's underneath? What?
MJ and Peter underneath right here. So it's like
well, it don't matter. Marvel ain't giving us that except for like an alternate timeline.
Renew your vows!
Yep. Yes, that was also out today, including and Amazing Spider-Man 800.
Get your Marvel crap out of here.
Oh, listen.
Tyler got my back on this.
Hey, X-Men Red Annual 1 came out today also. Did you read that?
I already read it.
I knew you read that. Probably ran home and read that.
You know what else came out? Doomsday Clock. But we ain't talking about that right now.
You know what? If someone has a podcast.
Because I can't remember what happened last time because it's been
2 months ago. We can't get a Doomsday. We can only get a Doomsday Clock every 2 months, but we can get Bendis every week. Where's the justice?
Well, thank goodness
there's no justice.
I think the book sales will do better because it's weekly versus monthly, though.
Oh yeah.
So.
And I mean, you write the book different when it's weekly. You know, because like they're like, oh, okay, next week. So I want this miniseries to be more self-contained. This Rogel's R thing to be.
I think that's his lasting legacy until the next freshen up reboot. Honestly, because Bendis does like to leave his mark. He really does.
Like a dog.
I'm trying to be nice, okay? Don't poke the bear.
You shouldn't be. I mean, you shouldn't be purposely trying to leave your mark. You should try to tell a good story, and if people like it, you're gonna leave your mark.
Every single person that has come on board to write Superman went in with that intention.
I know.
Even Batman.
And I'm not just laying this at Bendis' doorstep. You should go into it saying, I'm going to tell a great Superman story. This is a Superman story I want to tell, and if it's good enough,
but as a writer, you shouldn't be so obvious about it. You should be very subtle.
Well,
Bendis
and subtle aren't on the same planet, Lilith. Come
on. Trust me, I know.
Like I said,
he had matured and learned his lesson, but I do feel like this is his mark.
I like some of his stuff. I like his Daredevil stuff. His Jessica Jones stuff was good, but I'm just saying, good and bad on his stuff. Bendis is not subtle.
I just feel like he's introducing new female characters too, so you might be right about that section. One in the workplace, you know what I'm saying?
And it's like he's a married man, and it's Superman. He's not going to do anything.
If he does, we riot.
What was it?
We riot and we get the petition.
Pre-Flashpoint, there's an issue of Action Comics where he was stuck with like Wonder Woman in another dimension, and then like 1,000 years went by, and he didn't cheat on Lois. He's not going to cheat on some brand new character. You know, it's Superman.
Well, she is a redhead, though. The fire chief's a redhead, so you know.
But her initials were MM. They weren't LL.
Yeah, so it's not LL. Yeah, no. So it can't be canon.
Wrong consonants, Bendis.
He don't know. it's one letter up. He's trying to be clever, bro.
This ain't your Marvel stuff, Bendis.
Bendis.
I still thought it was an okay issue, though. I would give it about a B+.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I kind of wanted to see if it would be like
a train wreck.
No, in a way mirroring like the whole reason we're looking at the Burn issues.
My train was
this is like kind of like if you're coming into this as a new reader, Burn, and like this is your like because the way they built it up, like this is a new jumping off point, you know, since Rebirth is closed out or in.
Is it though? I definitely feel they failed that task then. I don't think a new reader could jump in on this one.
That's what I know. That's what I'm saying. Like I kind of was thinking like he was going to be.
I think Tyler's right though. I think they're at least for Superman. This is like they're like, oh, get on board here. Look, it has a number 1 on it. You can jump right in. Yeah, and
I thought that's where they were going to kind of tool it more towards. You know, like this Man of Steel was
maybe not this issue.
If you don't know who Superman is by now, comic books ain't for you. I think that's the direction DC has decided to go with, and it shows with almost all their books.
I mean, yeah, but it's always like you got to think of that. Like, what Stan Lee say about like any comic book could be someone's first. You know,
well,
it's
called back issues.
Well,
I
was thinking about this today. This is what DC's problem is, especially the movies. Like Batman and Superman, everybody, even your grandmother, has like a picture in their head who Superman is, who Batman is. Like the Marvel stuff. I mean, people who didn't read comics, who knew Iron Man before that movie came out? They didn't have like a preconceived idea in their head. Batman and Superman, everybody on this planet has a preconceived notion of who Superman and Batman is.
That's why, ironically, like, if you think about it, the 89 Batman film doesn't have as much of an origin story for Batman because everyone kind of already has this pre-knowledge.
Well, before that, I mean, they kind of went closer to the comics, especially the comics of the time. Before that, everyone had the picture in their head of, like, 66 Batman and Super Friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, I'm glad to be the age I am.
Oh, shut up.
It must have been tough. We'll ask Charlie about it the next time we talk to him.
I always use this as a joke. Like with Solomon, I always tell him, I'm like, in my day, if I wanted to pretend like I was Spider-Man, I wore a red ski mask, a red sweatshirt, and a blue sweatpants, and that was my Spider-Man costume. I couldn't.
You've been Riley, bro.
And rubber rain boots. If I can find my picture, I'll send it to you.
I'm like, I couldn't run, or if I wanted to be Superman, it was a towel and my pajamas. Yeah. I couldn't run down to Walmart or Target and grab me a really great looking Spider-Man mask or cape.
I had Robin.
You should have learned how to sew, bro.
I did eventually. Because I had to start.
So you start taking shop class and just going down the home economics. I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong with somebody knowing how to sew. It's a very practical skill for anybody, especially if you're single.
But I'm talking about as a kid, like when I was like
as a kid,
4, like you know, my mom's got tons of pictures of me wearing my Superman pajamas with a red towel.
All right, Martha Stewart, are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
Until next week.
That's right, everyone. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I think every Wednesday we'll be doing this live. The Man of Steel stuff. We'll do it live. So follow our YouTube and hit the bell. Ding ding. You
come out of our notification squad.
That's right. It'll let you know. I think was it like a half hour before we go live?
A half hour and 5 minutes.
Okay. Because I set it up ahead of time, so it'll let you know, like 35 minutes before. So get on board. And if you're reading ahead, I mean, you can definitely read ahead on the Burns Man of Steel. So read ahead on that. Or if you read the book the new Man of Steel that day. But yeah, read ahead on Burns and email us.
And send Phil spoilers on Twitter. Just at him.
And I'll call you Bendis lover. Capes and Lunatics at gmail.com. For this show, you can get a hold of us on Twitter at Comic Capers Pod, and we're on Facebook, Comic Capers Podcast. Also follow at CL Sidekicks on Twitter for all the shows on this feed.
So many.
That's right. Yeah. And I challenge Mr. Brian Michael Bendis to come on and explain some of his choices for this series.
Oh,
I don't
want to be nice to people, Philip. Stop inviting people.
I'm really interested to see where he goes with the miniseries, but when that miniseries close out, because he's gonna be writing Action and Superman, where they're gonna go.
And did you see they're bringing back the Supergirl book though?
Yeah.
Well, they kind of had to.
All right, let's get out of here.
But Tyler, if people would like to talk more Superman, where can they talk about it?
Well, I mean, if they want
to hear about it,
Superman, you can check out the Krypton Report podcast, where I talk all things Superman with a little other DC stuff sprinkled here and there. But mainly it's Superman, Supergirl, Krypton. You hear me talk over there with my friend James Cole and my wife Jania when she's got free time. So we are going to be doing reviews on every issue of Superman in Action. So yeah, we're going to keep up with that now since this.
You brave souls.
Yeah, that's our goal. So after this release of issue Action 1000, we're going to kind of keep on track. So we just reviewed we call it the special Superman or the Action Comic special, and then we're doing the Superman special.
Oh yes, cool.
Yeah. So we're going to do those, and then we're working on the Man of Steel here. So good stuff. Awesome. Well, that's Krypton Report Pod. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything.
And if anyone would like to discuss DC with and get with that Canadian twist, Lilith, where can they talk to you?
At Lilith Hellfire. I'm looking forward to the Supergirl season finale, June 18th. Also, when our website launches, somebodysaveme.net. Just saying. Come find us, Save Me Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all that.
I'll tell you right now, Lilith, I would love to pop in for an episode or so with you and just chat. I'm really
Name
interested.
The episode. We're on season 1, and the second half is wide open.
You two should do some kind of crossover between the podcasts.
Oh, I would. I could commit to doing it continually, but I would like to do a couple and just dissect it.
Hey, just throw out some episodes that you want to talk about, and I will let you know what the schedule looks like. I'm back in love with Superman. No thanks to Bendis, but I have fallen back in love. It's time for people to fall back in love with Superman. He's had a tough 6 years.
I will say that comic book wise, I read everything. What they did with the New 52. I really fell back in love with the books when I read that Lois and Clark, and then when Rebirth hit, it got a stride there that I just loved and grooved, and I really want to see that continue. Because I bought all the New 52 books. It's Superman, but some of them were hard to read. Some of them you're just like, okay, I'm not looking forward to this as much, but I'll read it.
Go back and listen to World's Finest. You can find it. Me and Phil every week just get.
Oh, I know. I know. And I mean, things held me on. I love the J. Michael Straczynski's Earth 1 books. I hate that he only did 3 of those. He could have kept going, and I've been fine with that. But he confirmed to me that he only was doing 3.
Hey, person who loves to get bucked, where can they find you, Philip?
Oh, how dare you! But yeah, if Mr. Bendis would like to talk to us in person and explain some of his stuff, or even Mr. John Byrne, you can always email me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am at nightwingpdp. All right. Speaking of World's Finest, This song sounds familiar. But join us next Wednesday for Man of Steel #2. Maybe we'll find out what happens to Lois and John, but it's Bendis, so I doubt it.
And more of Tyler's Superman man cave in the background.
And will we see some more Superman groupies, and will they be gingers?
One can only hope.
They can get it.